Well, let's open our Bibles to Psalm 92. A long psalm. It's 15 verses. It's a psalm for the Sabbath day. So one day a week of worship and rest and family and contemplation and restoration, and kind of restoring, recreating. One day a week, this is what they did. And this is the song they sang. And it was a song that set the context for every day of the coming week, okay? It's a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord and to sing praises unto thy name, O Most High, to show forth thy loving kindness in the morning and thy faithfulness every night. So we talked about these practices of soul cultivation all week long, how important it is to do it every day, not just on Sunday or our Sabbath. Verse 3, upon an instrument of 10 strings, and upon the psaltery, upon the harp with a solemn sound, for thou, Lord, hast made me glad through thy work. I will triumph in the works of thy hands, O Lord. How great are thy works, and thy thoughts are very deep. A brutish man knoweth not, neither doth a fool understand this. When the wicked spring as the grass, and when all the workers of iniquity do flourish, it is that they shall be destroyed forever. But thou, Lord, art most high forevermore. For lo, thine enemies, O Lord, for lo, thine enemies shall perish. All the workers of iniquity shall be scattered. But my horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of a unicorn. I shall be anointed with fresh oil. Mine eye also shall see my desire upon mine enemies, and my ears shall hear my desire of the wicked that rise up against me. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Those that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. They shall still bring forth fruit in an old age. They shall be fat and flourishing, to show that the Lord is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. This psalm in totality, you think about them singing this on the Sabbath, just week after week after week. You think about families going to worship the Lord at synagogue or at the temple. You think about them in their homes gathering to sing a song like this. You think about dads teaching the next generation who is God and what is life all about. And it gives a sense of instruction. It gives a sense of contrast, because there's a contrast between the person who is engaged in praising, walking with, enjoying, giving thanks to God, the person that's walking through life in relationship with God and engaged in his works, versus the enemies of God and the brutish man, we'll come to that, or the fool. There's a contrast here. Those that are planted in the courts of God versus those that aren't. So it's a life instruction is what it is. This song is sort of a roadmap for life that says, if you go this road, you're gonna be like grass. You're gonna be like an enemy of God. It's gonna greatly diminish your life. Even your fruit is gonna diminish. Your whole life is gonna diminish. But if you go this way, if you walk the path with God of gratitude and grace and growth and God's works, if you engage in what God is doing, then your life is going to be this way. And it's kind of a study of contrast. And I'll never forget when my family was coming to the Lord as a kid. My dad was coming back to the Lord after some time since his teen years of wandering and straying and kind of doing his own thing. And my mom coming to the Lord in salvation. And up to that point, not being engaged in a devoted, committed Christian home, okay? And this is never to denigrate any of my relatives or extended family at all. But there was an easy contrast for me as a kid when I saw people flourishing in the courts of God, in the house of God, in relationship with God. And then when I contrasted the other examples that I had to see, okay, the people that didn't know the Lord, or the people that had chosen their own paths in life, and the hurt and the wreckage, the addictions, the abuse, the neglect, the court battles, all these types of things, and the scars that created, the anger, the resentment, the scorn, the blow-ups at family gatherings, and all these things. It was such an easy contrast for me to see life with Jesus wasn't perfect, it wasn't pain-free, but it was hopeful, it was joyful. And life without Jesus was really just there were no other alternatives to joy or real hope or real purpose, that it was just limping and kind of hopeless, I guess would be the word. And many of our family members have come to the Lord over the years, and those stories have been written in some beautiful ways, God's redemption. But anyway, my point is, I don't mean to digress. My point is, there's an easy contrast to see over a long period of time. Those that walk God's way in life, with God, engaged with Him in a relationship, not perfect, struggling, yes, dealing with our own struggles, letting God chasten us, letting God grow us, but living in faith, I guess is my point. Living imperfectly, but in a faith life with God, in love with Jesus, following Him. It's a different life. It brings about different things. And I don't know who the psalmist is. I keep wanting to say David, but the psalmist is committing himself to the life of walking with God. And we pick it up today in verse 3 to focus on verse 3 and 4. Upon an instrument of 10 strings, upon the psaltery, upon the harp, with a solemn sound. So he's saying, I'm going to celebrate you every morning and every night. I'm going to show forth your praises. I'm going to sing. I'm going to play instruments, okay? And I don't know, the instrument of 10 strings, something probably like a guitar. The psaltery, not sure, but some kind of instrument. And a harp, a softer instrument. It almost makes me wonder, this is just conjecture, if this is 3 almost different styles of music, different kinds of sounds, because the instrument of 10 strings is probably a more aggressive sounding instrument, like a guitar can be. I don't know about the psaltery, but then the harp is a more, well, it says solemn sound. It's talking about a softer, more soothing, more contemplative, more meditative sound. So it seems to me that this verse is talking about a range of sounds, possibly also a range of emotions, because music produces emotion. And some music quiets us, and some music energizes us, okay? And when it's godly music, consistent with the Word of God, and we're evaluating what is this producing, what is this doing to me, if it's generating within me a biblical response, then there's certainly nothing wrong with it, okay? The question is it teaching me the Word of God, the truth of God, and is it producing the right responses within me, both body, soul, and spirit, towards God, God-glorifying responses. And it seems to me that these instruments would have created different sounds, which would have created different almost styles of songs and celebrations, and therefore different kinds of emotional responses. And I think there's a range here in verse 3 of David saying, across this spectrum of instruments and this spectrum of sound and this spectrum of kinds of responses, it's all going to be in celebration. It's all going to be in thanks and gratitude of your faithfulness every morning, every night. I'm going to worship you. I don't want to go down this road. There's also a real good case there for the importance of music in all of our lives, and the importance of learning instruments. For our family. We never forced our children to learn an instrument, but we always wanted them to learn an instrument, and we always gave them opportunities to, and that's proven to be a blessing in my life, and just music is a good thing if it's honoring to the Lord. So that's a sidebar. Sorry about that. Verse 4, for thou, O Lord, now this is important, for thou, you've made me glad through thy work. I will triumph in the works of thy hands. Now, there's a lot of things I want to say about this verse in just a few minutes, or I wish I had more time. But gladness is connected very closely to God, okay? True gladness. And the word gladness, like we studied in another psalm, is to brighten up. It's to cheer up. A lot of times we're looking for reasons to cheer up. And having a new car or going on a trip or going to a nice meal, these are momentary reasons to cheer up, okay? But this is a perpetual cheering up. This is like a source, a steady stream of fresh water supply of cheer, okay? And it's connected to God, and it's connected to His works. And here's what I want to drive at. When you are when you know God, you have a relationship with him, and you're in fellowship with him, then you are connected to what he's doing. Okay, you're connected to his works. You're connected to the idea, even when it's by faith, that he is at work in you and through you and around you. And you're engaged in an eternal, a scope of work that's eternal, that's significant, that's meaningful and valuable, and you're a part of it, okay? And the beautiful thing, the New Testament, through the gospel and through Jesus, tells us that we have been chosen to be a part of God's work, to be co-laborers together with God, and that our labor is not in vain in the Lord, and that we're to be always steadfast, unmovable, abounding in the work of the Lord. So it's not just working hard for God. That's not necessarily the sense. The sense is God is always at work. And if I'm walking with him and engaging with him, then I'm always going to be engaged in that work with him. I'm going to be serving him, but my life becomes a part of his work. And going to work today becomes a part of the work that God's doing and God's given you to do. It becomes a part of your assignment. And all of your life takes on this context of, I'm not just existing, I'm not just surviving. I didn't just get here by accident or evolve. I don't have to create meaning. There's intrinsic value to who I am, to what I am, to what I'm doing, to what I've been given to do. And it's meaningful to my Creator. He placed me here. This is his work. My cubicle, my space, my office, my company, my work, it's his work because it's his assignment for me. And his work is blessing other people. It's serving my community. It's blessing my family and providing for our needs and our wants and loving them. It's blessing my church. It's providing for the work of God through my church. And on and on and on I could go. That your life becomes intertwined, interwoven with God's work. And when you know every day that your life is a part of what God is doing on planet Earth and in time and space with eternal meaning and value, that produces gladness, okay? And there's this secondary idea that anytime you want to recover gladness, you just go back to that pool of water of remembering, understanding, considering God's work. And that's going to make you glad, okay? God's doing a work. I'm a part of that work, and that makes me glad, okay? Now, to counter that, if you opt out of fellowship with God and you just go off into life and do your own thing, you might come across bits and fragments and crumbs of gladness. You might go from one thing to the next trying to find gladness, but there'll always be this nagging knowledge in your heart and soul and mind that you're out of sync with your reason for being, with your created purpose. And so gladness really can't be deep, rich, or permanent. It's just fleeting, okay? So, my friend, you can be glad today in God's works. Thou hast made me glad through thy work. I will triumph. That's to shout out loud with celebration, victorious cry. I will triumph in the works of thy hands. How often do we want to triumph in the works of our hands? We want to take credit. We want to elevate ourselves. But really, it's all the work of God's hands. And that's the source of gladness. That's the source of our greatest celebration, is knowing that God is at work in us and through us and around us, and he's always at work. And so be glad in his works today, my friend. Think about the works he's done in your life up to this point over your whole journey with Jesus. Think about the unique work he's doing in your life right now. One day you'll celebrate that work. You may not feel like celebrating it right now, but one day you will. Think about the work it's going to lead to. We live in remarkable times. This is a great time to be a Christian. This is a great time to be glad in his works, because God is really very active right now on planet Earth. Well, that's our Monday talk. So it is 9:16 my time. We've been 19 minutes in, so thank you for giving me 20 minutes or so of your day. I hope you have a great lunch break or whenever you're watching this. I love you and miss you, friends and family. Thank you for joining me from afar if you're in another state or region. We will pick it up here tomorrow in Psalm 92. Have a great day. Be glad in his works.